Welcome back to ZE Coins. In this video, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in American numismatics, the 1972 D Washington Quarter Dollar. Whether you're a beginner collector or a seasoned expert, you might be surprised by the fascinating history, errors, and values tied to this seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change. So let's get started. First, a little background. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, the quarter features the first president's profile on the obverse. The reverse shows an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. This iconic design continued unchanged for decades, and the 1972 quarter still bore that classic look. Now let's talk about the 1972 D quarter specifically. The D Mint mark stands for the Denver Mint, where these quarters were struck. In total, more than 311 million quarters were minted in Denver that year. That might make it sound like they're common. And for the most part, they are. But not all quarters are created equal. What sets some of these coins apart is condition, rarity of certain varieties, and above all, mint errors. Believe it or not, certain 1972 D quarters have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Let's explore why. First up, condition is key. A regular 1972 D Washington quarter that you find in circulation today is likely worth just 25 cents, maybe a bit more if it's in great condition. But collectors use a grading scale called the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. Coins that grade in the 67 to 70 range are extremely rare and valuable. For example, a 1972 D quarter graded MS-67 by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC can fetch anywhere from $300 to $600. And MS-68? Those are nearly unheard of. In fact, one example graded MS-68 sold at auction for over $3,000, but it doesn't stop at grade. There are also rare varieties and errors that make this coin especially sought after. One of the most famous and valuable errors is the double die error. Although more commonly found on the 1972 Philadelphia issue, if a double die error appears on a Denver quarter, it's incredibly rare. Collectors are always on the lookout for doubling on the letters, date, or Liberty inscription. Another high-value error is the off-center strike. These happen when the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly aligned in the press. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, values can go up dramatically. A 1972 D quarter with a 50% off-center strike could be worth several $100s. Then there's the clipped planchet error. This occurs when part of the coin's metal blank is missing, resulting in a quarter that looks like it's had a bite taken out of it. These errors are collectible, and values depend on the size and location of the clip. Let's not forget about the wrong planchet error, for example, a quarter struck on a nickel or a penny planchet. These are extremely rare, and if you're lucky enough to find one, it could be worth thousands. So where should you look for these valuable coins? Start with your pocket change. It sounds simple, but people have found valuable 1972 D quarters just sitting in coin jars, drawers, or even in spare change from a gas station. Look closely at every detail. Is the strike clean? Do the letters look doubled? Is the coin off-center? Are there any unusual edges or surfaces? Coin roll hunting is another great way to find these gems. You can get rolls of quarters from your local bank and search through them for hours. Some collectors have built entire collections this way, and the thrill of the hunt is half the fun. Now let's talk about the current market. Coin collecting has seen a big boom in recent years. More people are getting into the hobby, and demand for high-quality and rare error coins has skyrocketed. As of this year, a 1972 D quarter in average circulated condition is still worth face value, but in mint state or with the right error, it can be worth hundreds or even thousands. Let me give you some actual examples. A 1972 D quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS sold for $396 at Heritage Auctions. Another in similar grade but with a bright, lustrous finish went for over $500. That same coin, if it had been in MS-68, could have gone for more than $3,000. And a rare off-center strike 1972 D quarter sold for over $250 just last year. The key takeaway here is simple: not all quarters are worth only 25 cents. The 1972 D Washington quarter might look ordinary, but it holds potential if it's in the right condition or contains the right error. Collectors around the world are watching the market closely, and as demand continues to grow, so too might the value of these hidden gems. So the next time you get change from the store, take a moment to check your quarters. That small piece of metal might just be your lucky ticket to a valuable discovery. We're diving deep into a surprisingly valuable piece of American change, the 1981 D Washington quarter dollar. Now before you shrug it off as just another old quarter, let me tell you this coin can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on certain rare factors. And by the end of this video you'll know exactly what to look for in your own change jar. So stay tuned because this common coin might just be a hidden treasure. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been a staple in American pockets since 1932 when it was first introduced to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the decades it has seen many changes, but the core design remained mostly the same up through the year 1998. That includes the 1981 issue minted at the Denver Mint, which is what the D in 1981 D stands for. In 1981 the Denver Mint struck over 575 million Washington quarters. That's right, over 500 million coins. So why would any of them be valuable, you might be thinking? With that high of a mintage none of these could be rare. And at face value you'd be right. But coin collecting is all about the details. It's about condition, errors, varieties, and sometimes simply being in the right place at the right time. Let's break down the key factors that can make a 1981 D quarter worth serious money. First and most importantly, we have to talk about mint state condition. A coin in average circulated condition is typically worth no more than its face value, 25 cents. But when we talk about mint state or uncirculated coins that have never been used in commerce, that's when the value jumps. A 1981 D Washington quarter graded mint state 65 by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC can be worth around $10 to $20. Not bad for a quarter, but we're just getting started. When you get into high-end grades, mint state 67 or above, the value skyrockets. In fact, a 1981 D quarter graded MS 67 recently sold at auction for over $400. Why so much? Well, it all comes down to rarity in that condition. Out of those 575 million coins, very few remain in pristine untouched shape. The majority were spent or damaged long ago. Now let's talk about something even more exciting: errors and varieties. This is where things get really interesting for collectors. Some 1981 D quarters have been found with striking errors like off-center strikes, double dies, and even missing clad layers. An off-center error means the coin wasn't properly aligned when it was struck, causing part of the design to appear off the coin. These can range from minor shifts to dramatic half-missing designs. Depending on severity and condition, these errors can fetch anywhere from $50 to several hundred. Then we have the double die errors. Although not officially recognized in 1981 quarters like in some other years, there have been reports from collectors of doubling seen on the obverse side, particularly in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If verified and graded, such errors can command strong premiums, and don't forget about the missing clad layer error. Washington quarters from 1965 onward were made from a copper-nickel clad composition, but sometimes the outer layer is missing either on one side or both. This creates a coin that appears red like a penny or dark copper instead of its usual silver color. A 1981 D quarter missing its clad layer could be worth over $1,000 depending on condition. Let's also talk about proof-like or satin finishes. These are coins that may not be official proofs but were struck early in a new die's life and have a near-proof appearance with frosted details and mirrored fields. While rare, these quarters can be worth premium prices, especially when certified by grading companies. So how do you know if your 1981 D quarter is worth money? First, check the mint mark. It should be a small d just above the R in quarter on the reverse. Then check the condition. Is it clean, bright, and without scratches or dings? That's a good sign. If it looks almost new, it may be worth grading. And if you spot anything odd, like design doubling, weird colors, or off-center designs, you may have something really special. Now let's talk about current market values in 2025. As of this year, common circulated 1981 D quarters are still worth only 25 cents. But uncirculated examples are going strong. MS-65 examples are typically selling for around $15. MS-66 graded coins go for $30 to $50. MS-67 can hit $400 or more. And if by chance you've got a top pop coin, meaning one of the highest graded examples known, the value could climb past $1,000. Especially if it's got a rare error. The coin market in 2025 has seen renewed interest in pre-statehood quarters, including coins from the 70s and 80s, because newer collectors are looking beyond silver coins for undervalued pieces. That makes this the perfect time to hunt down your 1981 D quarters and have them evaluated. So to sum it all up, the 1981 D Washington quarter might look ordinary, but in the right condition or with a rare error it could be worth big money. Look for high-grade examples with sharp detail and clean surfaces. Be on the lookout for off-center strikes, doubling and clad layer errors. And consider submitting your best finds to a grading service if they appear uncirculated. It's one of the best examples of how even modern coins can hold hidden value. And it might just be sitting in your change jar or an old drawer waiting to be discovered. We're diving deep into the fascinating story of one of the most interesting and surprisingly valuable coins in modern American numismatics, the 1982 D Washington quarter dollar. This coin might look like just another quarter you use to pay for parking or snacks, but hold on, because this seemingly ordinary coin has a history that could make it worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars under the right conditions. Let's rewind the clock to the year 1982. Ronald Reagan was Presidente. T. was playing in theaters. Michael Jackson's Thriller was about to drop, and in the world of American coinage something unusual was happening at the U.S. Mint in 1982. The United States Mint made a dramatic change. It stopped producing uncirculated mint sets for the first time since 1964. That means no special mint sets were available for collectors that year, so the only 1982 quarters that exist came directly from circulation. No shiny uncirculated sets, no protected packaging, just coins that were struck and released into the wild. Now you may be asking, why does that matter? Well, here's the kicker: because these coins were not specially preserved. Most 1982 D quarters were heavily circulated. They picked up nick scratches and tons of wear and tear over the years, so finding a 1982 D quarter in pristine condition is incredibly rare, and that scarcity is exactly what drives up the value for collectors. But there's another twist to this story, and this one is even more fascinating. In 1982 the U.S. Mint was also transitioning from stamping coins on copper-nickel planchets to using planchets made of pure copper on the inside with a nickel coating. As a result, there were mistakes, and one of the most famous errors from this time is the missing mint mark and missing lettering detail due to dye degradation. One of the most sought-after 1982 D quarters is known as the no mint mark or weak D variety. Now technically it should have a D for Denver Mint, but some were struck so lightly that the mint mark appears faint or completely missing, and because quality control was looser back then, some coins left the mint with blurred or incomplete details. Then there's the 1982 D quarter struck on the wrong planchet. Yes, there are rare examples of these quarters being struck on dime planchets, and if you ever find one of those, congratulations, you're holding a serious rarity. Let's now talk value. Most 1982 D quarters in regular circulated condition are worth 25 cents. That's right, face value, but in mint state condition, especially those graded MS-65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, their value skyrockets. Let me give you some numbers. As of today, a 1982 D Washington quarter graded MS-66 can sell for upwards of $500. Move that up to an MS-67 and we're talking about prices in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, and if you're lucky enough to have a top pop MS-68 example, you're in five-figure territory. One of the finest known examples sold for over $10,000 at auction. Let that sink in. A coin that was meant to be pocket change, now a five-figure collectible, all because of condition, rarity and historical context. But here's the big takeaway: because no mint sets were made that year, any pristine 1982 D quarter had to be preserved by sheer luck. Maybe someone pulled it out of circulation right away, maybe it ended up in a collection or forgotten jar. Whatever the case, it's an uphill battle to find one in high grade today. Now let's touch briefly on grading. When it comes to coin value, grading is everything. That's why professional third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC play such a crucial role. They assess the coin's condition under magnification and assign a grade from 1 to 70, with MS-60 and above being uncirculated mint state. The higher the grade, the fewer of those coins exist, and that's where the value comes from. Now you might be wondering, how do I check my pocket change for a valuable 1982 D quarter? Here's what to look for. First, flip the coin and check the mint mark. It should have a D for Denver. If there's no D or it's very faint, that could be a Variety worth researching. Second, examine the details. Does the coin look sharp? Do you see strong hairlines on Washington's portrait? Are the eagle's feathers on the reverse crisp? If so, you may have a higher grade specimen. And finally, if the coin looks like it's in great shape, it might be worth submitting to a grading service, especially if you think it's near uncirculated. So to wrap things up, the 1982 D Washington quarter is a perfect example of how a modern coin still in circulation can be worth big money under the right circumstances. It's all about history, minting decisions, grading, rarity, and a little bit of luck. So next time you get a quarter in your change, take a closer look, because that little coin could be worth far more than 25 cents. We're diving deep into the world of coin collecting to explore one fascinating piece that could be sitting in your home right now. That coin is the 1986 D Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it might seem like any other quarter. But as we're about to discover, some of these coins are worth far more than just 25 cents. In fact, certain 1986 D quarters have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auctions. So how do you know if your coin is one of them? Let's find out. First, a little background. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was originally meant to be a one-year commemorative coin, but it proved so popular that it became a permanent fixture in U.S. coinage. Fast forward to 1986. That year, the Denver Mint struck over 504 million Washington quarters. These coins bear the small letter D on the right side of Washington's ponytail to indicate their Denver origin. That might make you think they're too common to be valuable, but don't be fooled. While most 1986 D quarters are only worth face value, there are rare exceptions that command big money. So what makes a 1986 D quarter valuable? It comes down to condition, rarity, and mint errors. Let's start with condition. Collectors place a premium on coins that are in pristine condition. These are called mint state coins. A mint state 67 or higher 1986 D quarter can be worth a lot more than one that's been in circulation. In fact, a 1986 D quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS once sold for over $1,500. That's right, over $1,500 for a single quarter. Why? Because high-grade examples are extremely scarce. Out of the hundreds of millions produced, very few remain in such immaculate condition. That makes them highly desirable for serious collectors who want the best of the best, but there's more. Even more valuable than a high-grade coin is one with a mint error. Mint errors occur during the manufacturing process and can result in coins that are off-center, double-struck, missing parts of their design, or struck on the wrong metal planchet. Some of these errors are incredibly rare, and when they show up on a 1986 D quarter, they can fetch thousands of dollars. For example, an off-center strike that still shows the full date and mint mark could be worth several $100s. A quarter struck on a 5-cent blank could be worth over $1,000. And if you happen to find a double die obverse, where the design appears to be doubled, you're looking at a potentially major payday. Now let's talk about the market value in today's world. Coin collecting has seen a surge in interest in recent years. With more people staying home and turning to hobbies, numismatics, that's the study of coins, has grown rapidly. As a result, rare and high-quality coins have been commanding higher prices than ever before. Auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers regularly feature Washington quarters in their high-end coin sales. In 2023, one 1986 D Washington quarter graded MS-67 Plus sold for nearly $2,000. That's nearly 8,000 times its face value. And if the coin has both a rare error and a high grade, you might be looking at life-changing money from a single coin. So what should you look for if you want to find a valuable 1986 D quarter? First, check the mint mark. Make sure you see a clear D on the coin. Then look at the condition. Is the coin shiny, uncirculated, and free from scratches or wear? If so, it might be worth sending to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies will authenticate and grade your coin, giving you a better idea of its true value. If your coin looks normal but is in great shape, it could still be worth over $50 to $100. But if you see something unusual, like doubling, missing elements, or an off-center design, you might have an error coin worth hundreds or even thousands. Let's not forget that coin collecting is about more than just money. It's about history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of the hunt. The 1986 D. Washington quarter might seem ordinary at first, but with the right knowledge and a little luck, you could uncover a rare piece of American numismatic history. Before we wrap up, here's a quick recap. Over 504 million 1986 D quarters were minted, but only a small fraction are worth more than face value. Look for high-grade examples in mint state condition. Keep an eye out for mint errors, especially off-center strikes, wrong planchets, and doubled dies. Get your coin graded if it looks promising. And stay tuned to auctions and market trends to see what collectors are paying for top-tier coins. So the next time you get a quarter in your change, take a closer look. It could be a common coin. Or it could be your ticket to a small fortune. And remember, whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, the world of coins is full of surprises. We dig into hidden gems of American coinage. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet fascinating coins in modern U.S. history. That's right, the 1990 D. Washington quarter dollar. You might think it's just pocket change, but some of these coins are worth serious money today. So, what makes the 1990 D. Washington quarter so special? What's its history? Why are collectors paying hundreds, sometimes thousands, for these coins? Let's explore the full story from minting to market value. The Washington quarter has been a staple of U.S. currency since 1932. It was originally created to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the years, it's seen many design changes, mint marks, and valuable errors. The 1990 D version is no exception. The D mint mark tells us this quarter was minted in Denver. That year, more than 927 million Washington quarters were struck at the Denver Mint. That's right, nearly a billion. At first glance, it doesn't seem rare at all. But here's the twist. While most 1990 D quarters are only worth face value, some have hidden features or errors that make them highly desirable to collectors. Let's talk about the different types of 1990 D quarters and what makes them stand out. First, the basic circulated version. This is the one most people have in change jars or dresser drawers. In worn condition, these are generally worth 25 cents. But in mint state condition, meaning the coin has never been used and shows no signs of wear, values start to rise. An uncirculated 1990 D quarter graded MS-65 by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC can be worth between $5 and $15. Not bad for something you might find in a coin roll, but here's where it gets exciting. Some of these coins exhibit dramatic mint errors. One of the most sought-after types is the off-center strike. That's when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to be missing. A 1990 D quarter with a 30% off-center error can sell for over $100, depending on condition and appeal. Another valuable error is the double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a slight duplication, creating a doubled image on the coin's lettering or date. While no major double dies have been widely confirmed for the 1990 D quarter, any suspected example would be of intense interest to collectors and could command big money. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet. This is when a quarter design is accidentally struck on a nickel or foreign coin blank. One such error can be worth several $100s, or even more at auction. Let's not forget about full strike and high-grade coins. These are coins that were perfectly struck and have been preserved flawlessly since 1990. A 1990 D quarter graded MS-67 or higher by PCGS can be worth over $100. In fact, the auction record for a 1990 D quarter is over $300 for an MS-67 Plus example. That's right, a regular quarter, with no error at all, just perfect condition. So where does the 1990 D quarter stand in today's market? Prices remain strong for high-grade and error coins. As more people enter the hobby, demand increases, especially for coins from the late 20th century. Collectors who specialize in Washington quarters look for top-condition coins to complete their sets. And that means opportunities for you. If you're going through your coin collection or just checking your spare change, here's what to look for. First, find the D mint mark, that tells you it came from Denver. Then, examine the coin for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or any unusual characteristics. If it looks perfect and shiny with no scratches, you might have a high-grade example. It could be worth sending to a grading service. Now here's the big tip. If you come across a roll of 1990 D quarters in uncirculated condition, do not spend them. Check each coin carefully. Even one high-grade example could pay for the entire roll and then some. Let's recap. The 1990 D Washington quarter was minted in massive numbers, but certain rare examples are worth a lot of money. Collectors pay premiums for mint errors, high grades, and unusual characteristics. Whether you're a serious numismatist or just getting into the hobby, this is one coin to keep an eye out for. Before we wrap up, remember that values can change based on market demand and condition. Always consult price guides, auction results, and professional graders to verify your coin's worth. We dive deep into the world of coins, collectibles, and hidden treasures that might just be lying around in your pocket change. Today we're going to explore the fascinating story of the 1995 D Washington quarter dollar. This seemingly ordinary coin has a rich history and can sometimes be worth a surprising amount of money. So if you've got one of these coins or you're simply curious about how much a 1995 D quarter can be worth today, stick around because this video could help you uncover a small fortune. Let's begin with a little background. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932. It was originally created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, this coin has seen a few design tweaks, but the obverse has always featured the familiar bust of George Washington based on the original sculpt by John Flanagan. On the reverse, until the year 1998, we saw the traditional eagle design, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches underneath. In 1995, the Denver Mint produced over 1.1 billion Washington quarters, which means the 1995 D quarter is not considered rare by mintage numbers alone. However, not all quarters are created equal. While most 1995 D quarters are only worth their face value of 25 cents, some of them can command high prices due to condition, mint errors, and collector demand. Let's talk about the common value first. If your 1995 D quarter is in circulated condition with visible wear and tear from being used in everyday transactions, it's likely only worth 25 cents. However, if you have one that's in uncirculated condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear and has been preserved well, it could be worth a few dollars. A typical mint state example graded MS-63 might bring in between $2 and $5. Now here's where things start to get exciting. High-grade coins that have been professionally graded by companies like PCGS or NGC can fetch significantly more money. For example, a 1995 D quarter graded MS-67 or higher is much harder to find. At this level, collectors are willing to pay a premium. In fact, a 1995 D quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS has been known to sell for over $200 at auction. And if you have an example graded MS-68, you're talking about values that can reach into the four-figure range, depending on eye appeal and market demand. But what really gets collectors excited are the rare mint errors. Mint error coins are produced when something goes wrong during the coin manufacturing process. Some of the most valuable 1995 D Washington quarters are those with striking errors. These might include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, or coins struck on the wrong planchet altogether. One notable example is the double die obverse. Although most famous in the 1995 Philadelphia minted Lincoln cent, there have been a few known double die varieties found in 1995 quarters, especially with subtle doubling on the lettering or date. If verified, these can be worth hundreds of dollars. Another rare and valuable error is the quarter struck on a dime planchet. Because it is smaller and lighter, this type of error coin is extremely valuable to collectors. A 1995 D quarter struck on a dime planchet has sold in auctions for over $1,000. Clipped planchet errors are also worth mentioning. These occur when the blank metal disc that becomes the coin is improperly cut, leaving a curved or straight edge missing. Depending on the size of the clip and visibility of the date and mint mark, these can be worth anywhere from $50 to a few hundred. So what determines the value of your 1995 D Washington quarter? It comes down to three main things: condition, rarity, and demand. A coin that is in pristine condition with full original luster and no scratches or handling marks will always be worth more than one that's been through circulation. Rarity refers to how many examples of that specific variety or error exist. And finally, demand is what collectors are willing to pay for it, which can fluctuate over time based on trends and auction activity. Now let's touch on grading for a moment. If you think you have a valuable 1995 D quarter, especially one that's uncirculated or has a possible error, consider sending it to a professional grading service. A high grade from PCGS or NGC not only verifies the coin's authenticity but also gives it a standardized market value. Coins graded MS67 and above are far less common, and a certified grade makes it easier to sell or auction your coin to serious buyers. So what's the current market like for these coins? As of now, in 2025, there is renewed interest in modern coinage from the 1990s, and registry collectors are looking to complete high-grade sets. That has increased the value of top population coins like the 1995 D quarter in MS68. Meanwhile, rare error coins continue to see strong prices at auctions, especially for verified double dies and wrong planchet errors. If you want to check your own change or coin collection, look closely at any 1995 D quarters you have. Start by examining the coin's surface under a magnifying glass. Look for doubling on the letters or date. Check the weight of the coin using a digital scale. A normal quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. If yours is significantly lighter or heavier, that could be a clue to a wrong planchet error. Also, look at the edges of the coin. A clipped planchet will be very obvious once you know what to look for. In conclusion, while most 1995 D Washington quarters are still worth just 25 cents, there are a few gems out there that can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. High grades, rare errors, and strong demand from collectors all contribute to higher values. So don't underestimate the coins in your change jar. You might be holding on to a small fortune without even realizing it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1995 D Washington quarter and want more coin history, value guides, and treasure hunting tips, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Leave a comment below if you've ever found a valuable coin or want me to cover a specific coin in a future video. Happy collecting and keep checking your change.